Hey guys, it's John McNamara, host, running Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate. If you guys like what you see, subscribe, follow us on Running Vegas podcast. Today, we got a special guest, Mr. Chris Ward, Tom Ferry coach, Virtue Real Estate Group in the house.
All right. Thanks for having me.
You like that opening?
Yeah, you talk so weird when you're on your podcast.
Oh yeah, I got it. It's like my alter ego.
Okay.
So I gotta get
All right.
Running Vegas. Come on,
Yeah.
gotta get the hypebeast.
I'm hyped. I'm ready to go.
I can tell.
Let's do it.
I can tell.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about, you've been the lead coach for Virtue Real Estate Group. Was it like 9 months now, a year?
A little over 10, going on 11.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So how's that going? What's going on with the brokerage? You've you made a major impact with the company, so
Well,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. No, it's really been a lot of fun. You know, it's been great, honestly. You know, I've had a lot of different career opportunities, and it might be my favorite. It would be up there with a couple other things, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been a unique challenge, you know, because, you know, obviously with real estate, you have a real estate client, they choose to work with you. There's something that they see in you, that's why they choose to work with you. There's some type of trust or something like that. Then the next phase of my career was becoming a Tom Ferry coach, and then I've loved that. That's been really a lot of fun, and I still do it. But what's unique about that is somebody signs up. You know, they have something in mind. I need help. I want to sign up. I'm committed. I'm making a financial investment in this, and I'm choosing to hire you. So again, there's something like that, except they hire the company instead of you specifically. What's been really unique about this experience is, you know, Darren chose to hire me, right?
Yeah.
Darren put me in place. And then so you're put in front of all the different agents. And the agents, there's a little sense of kind of like, hey, who are you, right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't necessarily sign up for this. And so there's a different dynamic where, you know, it's been humbling. You know, it's been humbling in a sense where you kind of have to prove yourself to the agents. You have to show value. You know, you kind of have to present information in a different way, right? Not everybody is fully committed yet. You know, it's something that you earn the trust over time. And so it's been a really fun experience. Very different. I appreciate you saying that I've had a large impact. I'm starting to feel that now, you know, we're starting to see that in some ways, but it's really been a lot of fun. It's been a new challenge. And, you know, honestly, you know, it's corny to say, but I really wouldn't trade it. I've really learned a lot. And, you know, with the fact that it's been a bit humbling, I think it's made me a better coach in that sense.
Oh, what do you mean by humbling?
Humbling in the sense that, like, when, you know, Tom Ferry, someone would show up and they'd be like, I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
And humbling in the sense that kind of any ego that you develop from that sense of someone's like, all right, I'm going to pay you all this money. I'm ready to go. And you're going to be my coach, versus humbling in the sense that the people at the brokerage didn't really sign up for that. And they're just kind of like, hey, okay, I'm told to be here today. I don't know who you are. Right. And so humbling in the sense that you kind of have to prove yourself over and over again. You have to earn that trust. And so it's been something I've been up for, that challenge, but cool. You know, it's been kind of nice. It's been good. I like that.
Well, it seems like you're excelling, and I mean, you've been a Tom Ferry coach, what, like 7, 8, 9 years now?
7.
7 years.
Yeah.
So you're one of their top coaches. So what are the lessons you've learned from that coaching program that have translated well for you being the lead coach for Virtue Real Estate Group?
That's a great question. There's a couple things that come to mind immediately. And I guess one of the first thing that comes to mind is the accountability aspect of it. Whenever someone signs up in Tom Ferry, they say, hey, I'm here for accountability. I'm here because I've signed up because I identified this problem, right? And so typically right out the gates, there's a sense of, okay, great, we'll just solve that problem then. Right. Yeah. And again, it's been unique where some people, again, haven't signed up. They're not sure what it is yet. So it's a little bit more digging, a little bit more learning people, learning their businesses. And so you learn to ask different questions as you kind of prod and figure that out. Because not to say there's less self-awareness, but it's just not, I've made this commitment because I've already identified the problem. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of help people identify that problem. And so some of the main things I've learned is people would always sign up at Tom Ferry saying, hey, I want accountability. You start to help them with accountability and they're like, oh, I don't actually want that. I actually don't want that at all.
Right.
And so that's always a problem. But as you're kind of learning, okay, there's usually some type of flaw here. And generally, to answer your question, there's some type of issue with the secondary or third lead generation source. A lot of realtors can be pretty good when they have one thing that they do well.
Okay.
But where they start to find the problem with either scaling to the next level, I want to double my business, oh, I'm inconsistent now, there's nothing repeatable, it's usually in that second, third lead source and the lack thereof.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've really found over the last year in particular is really creating some type of steady secondary, maybe third lead source. That way
Right.
someone has a more well-rounded business that's not just relying on one thing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So creating other pillars out there. Is there any like pillars out there that you would recommend, or is it you kind of depending on the person? If you can go to more into that.
Sure, of course. And so there's the database, the sphere, right? The referrals of that. I consider that one thing. And so the referrals that come from the people that know you already and they themselves, the business that they are going to provide. And so that's the most important thing. Typically when you coach with me, that's a non-negotiable. If you don't have any sphere whatsoever, it's going to be an uphill battle. And I just like refer to that as someone who's grinding for business. You know, every day they wake up and it's like I have to meet a whole new person, create trust, show value, and then convert them as a client. It's just a lot, right? And so the non-negotiable is you have to have a strong, repeatable sphere, people that will come back and work with you and then refer to you. That's how you make your life easy in this business.
For sure.
Right, and you've seen this from being a cold caller. What happens is you call and there's an initial call, but then there's the follow-up, and then you touch base 3 months later, and then eventually the people know you, you're saved in the phone, and it's less difficult over time.
Yeah.
Right? So cold calling is not for everyone, but to answer your question, I do think database is really important. I think open houses are becoming more valuable again.
I agree with that for sure.
Right? Because I think a lot of buyers are looking on their own now for homes just that much longer now with the new buyer brokerage agreement that need to be signed. People don't want to be locked in with an agent. So they go to more open houses, they search more online, which brings you to the next point. Doing quality videos, doing social media, creating a digital brand. So I would really kind of say those are some of the best things right now. Definitely your sphere and their referrals, open houses are working again, and then digital brand.
Yeah, I like that because I've noticed just cold calling over the last 20 years is the pickup rate is lower. People still pick up though, so that's never an excuse. But I do kind of like open houses a little bit more because now you get FaceTime where people are not as interactive. It's just getting in front of people. So
yeah.
So what are some traits that you would consider that you see out of top producing agents? Like,
Well, I mean, the first by far is going to be internal motivation. I mean, I don't even think it's even close. It's internal motivation. So when you have someone who has that drive, they're competitive, they're motivated, they have a strong why, they're doing it for some reason, that's definitely the answer. I mean, if you're going to get up and work hard every day, you don't need that external push. You're already got it within you. That's the main trait. Beyond that, I think people that are likable, personable, right? The people who just don't develop that trust and relationship, they're typically the people that are saying, well, why did that client not choose me, right? And it's tough to have the conversation sometimes because nobody likes you, right? It's
that's
not
what
easy.
keeps that happening to me.
Yeah, that must be it. It's that dumb voice you do. It starts
You love it. Okay, cool. So that's interesting. Okay, so it's the desire to go out there and get it every single day, which I can appreciate that. Is there a theme behind that? Because you work with a lot of top producing agents. Like, is there a certain because I realized like one thing on this pod that I've got out, the biggest thing I've got out, 99% of the people that are successful have all been like former athletes. And just like the discipline to go at it every day and just keep going, and even though they're losing in practice, losing games. So do you see like a trend of certain kind of a folk, that has that desire to keep moving, or?
Yeah, I mean, probably, you're probably right when you say that. I mean, it's probably the competitiveness. I referenced a minute ago, and it goes to being the athlete. If you're playing sports and someone shoves you, do you fall down or do you shove back, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's some sense of, okay, I tried this thing, it didn't work. Am I going to give up, or am I going to, try extra hard? Am I going to go back but with a different script or a different approach, or am I going to try to learn a new skill, right? And so the competitiveness, and I think maybe the other thing is the willingness to learn a new skill. Too many people just over and over again are going to say, this is what I did last year, this is who I am, this is my business, and so I expect a different result next year instead of learning something new. And I guess an example of that is over and over again, people tell me they want to do video, learn video, but they don't have the budget to spend $2,000-$3,000 a month to have someone create video for them and film and edit. But the editing isn't that hard to figure out. It's the people who just shoot a video with gimbal, what they have in front of them. They shoot their own video, they learn CapCut, they do their own editing. Just get it done.
Yeah.
Just be competitive enough to just say, I'm going to do this, and then be willing to try something new.
Yeah, I agree with you, because we do video, and a lot of times I screw up half the time. I just do it like on my phone. I send it out, and I'm like, I'm just sending it out, but it's just those like reps, and you keep learning and you keep working on those scripts, because you got to stay in front of it, because the scripts I used 20 years ago, they still work, but you kind of have to change it a little bit here and there, and you keep kind of tweaking it every year and in more videos. So I agree with you. So you guys are having a lot of success at Virtue. You're coaching a lot of top producers. Do you have any success stories? Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, recently there's an agent that I was speaking to who I like to ask, hey, what do you think is the biggest problem in your business? What do you think is the thing that you should be doing right now that you're not? What's that thing that's been eating at you, that's been in the back of your mind? You're like, I got to do that, I got to do that. I like to ask those questions because I can try and identify and figure out what's going on, but it's just great if I ask you, because there's probably something in your mind that you know you need to do. And so I was speaking to an agent at Virtue, really good, strong agent, been on this pod actually, and and he said to me,
"We can't say names on the pod."
No names. No, I don't think so.
I'll guess.
And so he identified that a lot of people in his network just forget or don't even know that he's in real estate.
Wow.
Or when they do, they'll kind of say, oh, that's right, you're in real estate. But they don't realize that he's actually like a very top producing agent, right?
Yeah, he does very well.
Yeah, he does really well. So what we ended up doing was, instead of just saying, hey, I'm in real estate, what we did was we created a marketing piece that had all of Las Vegas, and then we did pin drops on a map to say where sales were. And so this person's been in real estate for 22 years, has done over 350 million in sales, and some 250-ish, I don't remember that exact number, of closed sales, right? So lots of sales. That's a producing person who has experience, knows what they're doing. But yet the people in this person's network did not realize that. Yeah. And so we created some marketing to put that out there, and then shared that through social media. We definitely put that as part of the conversation. And so what we've been doing is asking for business and making sure that people understand that not only is in real estate, but he can be trusted, right? He knows what he's doing. Yeah. And so in order for someone to recommend you to somebody else, they obviously have to trust you, right? You're not just going to put that out there if you don't think that you would be able to do a good job, because it'd make you look bad. And so we really want to make sure we build that trust that you're in good hands here. And so just from doing that, asking for business at a higher level, looking for referrals, and putting that marketing content out, the results just in the last 2 months have been huge.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool to hear.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So I know the brokerage right now is really trying to grow. What would you say Virtue Real Estate Group's their value proposition? There's an agent out there looking right now, listening or watching the pod, why should they consider meeting with you guys?
It's a really great question. I mean, training, I think, would be one of them. Marketing is another thing that comes to mind. Training in particular. So every single week I do group coaching. Everyone could come to that. This Monday, we did a luxury listing panel where Darren and myself were on the panel. And so every single month we'll do something like that, which really strong training. And so, I mean, Darren was in charge of $1 billion project, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just a couple weeks ago, he took 8 listings in a week for 26 million.
Yeah, so
that's not a bad week.
I kind of have a funny, he's an amazing salesperson. It's nice to be around Darren because he thinks so big. You and I actually, so Chris is actually my brother, if you guys don't know that, but you and I actually had happy hour the week of that, and I didn't even tell you, but that week I took 4 listings. I just come from Pahrump, got an awesome listing out there, and I came back like thinking I was the man. Like, oh, I took 4 listings, sold 2 houses this week. And then you said to me, like, oh yeah, Darren took 8 listings for 26 million in volume. And I was just like, holy crap. I guess I got to get back at it. Yeah. But that's why I love this brokerage, because people are doing high volume, big sales. And even you think you had a good week and you could take it like your foot off the metal a little bit. No way. You got to keep cranking. So
yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that become part of that. There's the training. There's asking people for their advice when they have the actual experience. It's great to ask an agent in your office. Maybe you have an agent in your office that you really respect, and that's wonderful. If you don't, I mean, that's one thing that's really good about this brokerage.
Yeah.
You know, there's people that I've talked to at other brokerages that are like, yeah, I've been number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 at my brokerage year over year, month over month, and it's just like, I don't feel that competition. I don't feel like anyone's pushing me to that next level, right? And I need to surround myself with people. And so one thing that's great about our brokerage is, yes, I've experienced a lot in real estate. I've seen a lot, and I can help you with that. Darren has just such a high level. But then there's also the people like you, Rich, the other Darren Melton, Bill. Like, there's agents that also have a ton of experience in sales. And so being just in a different environment, I think, is one thing that the brokerage really has to offer. We have a wonderful location. And so the office itself, being able to have a sense of community there, I think, is one of the great things. We also have the filming studio. So the level of marketing that comes with that too, I think, is outstanding.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, one thing I like about the, because, you know, our team does about 40, 60 deals a year, give or take. But one thing I love about this brokerage is they're more focused on the volume. So like you said, like top 5 in your brokerage every year, you feel like the man. You come out here and you have Darren doing his 60, 80, 100 million, whatever he does for the year.
We're going 250 this year.
He's doing 250 share, and I believe he'll get it. And one thing that's cool about Darren as well is he's just a really humble dude. Like, I feel like you could just talk shop with him. He's super open. I don't get a vibe from a lot of other luxury agents out there top producing. Not that we have a ton of them here. We maybe have like 10. It's a handful. But Darren, after knowing most of them, like, Darren is just like the most open, chill guy that you can just talk anything with. So
Yeah, and he regularly goes on your listing appointments with you if you need help.
yeah,
Not everyone does that.
yeah, that's for sure. All right, cool. So now that we got real estate out of the way,
Done.
wow, why I really had you on the pod.
Yeah.
Suck sports.
Yep.
This is all we do.
Yep.
So that the fact that I get to go on a pod and just like literally talk sports with you
Yeah.
made my day.
Yeah.
I get to nerd out for like 13 minutes here.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
Local sports. We can't talk New York Jets because nobody cares about the New York Jets.
Gosh, they're the worst. Jets fan. It's a nightmare.
All right. So Raiders. Pete Carroll. How do you feel about the hire?
I'm really interested to see how he and Chip Kelly work together.
Yeah.
Because they're just very conflicting offenses.
so?
I think so.
They
Because
both like to run the ball.
yeah, but Chip Kelly, he does, but he runs it in more of a spread, right? You look at kind of like Chip Kelly's offenses versus like
true.
how Pete Carroll would run it with Marshawn Lynch just right at you, right? And so Chip Kelly wants some short passes, just spread it, throw, screens, things like that. I'm curious to see how Chip Kelly's offense works because also I don't really know that the Raiders have the personnel for that, right? So I'm just curious to see how the offense looks. Pete Carroll could be great.
Too. One thing I noticed, though, with Chip Kelly this year at Ohio State is he slowed it down. And obviously he has like the most talent. And luckily, they're going into a draft class where there's just uber talent when it comes to running back. So I imagine they're going to pick up 1 or 2 backs in there.
Right.
But I'm super interested to see where they go at QB because how he likes that kind of like point guard / quarterback.
Right.
I mean, they could literally pick up Mariota, and I think they'd be able to move the ball.
Oh gosh,
So,
going back to the Oregon days?
yeah,
all
wow,
right.
that kid never stays healthy, so I wouldn't want
Yeah.
Mariota. Maybe as a backup.
Right.
But, I mean, what are your thoughts on, like, the QB position? Who do you think they should bring in? A lot of talk with Stafford right now. I don't see that happening, but...
No, I really don't see that happening. I mean, the asking price for Stafford seems so high, and then his contract would be really high, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think he probably stays with the Rams.
I do, too. I think he's just trying to get more money.
More money. Yeah, and maybe a longer contract. I also wonder how long he's going to play.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, I mean, the retirement rumors for Stafford have been around for a while, but, one thing that I didn't think of till right now is Chip Kelly, they're going to bring in a running back. Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins are both, his backs. And so I didn't think of that till right now. They'll probably bring in one of them, you would think.
Yeah.
They'll probably target whoever his favorite was for the offense. I don't know. We'll see. But for quarterback, I don't know.
You the other day said Justin Fields, man. I love that.
Yeah, I feel like it would be Justin Fields. That's what
Yeah.
I think. I think it should be Justin Fields. And they can simplify the offense enough to just dink and dunk and get it out there. I mean, the guy has been plagued by terrible offensive lines his entire career, and then he did really well with Pittsburgh last year. I mean, record-wise. I mean, passing was iffy, but still.
Yeah, that's not his strength, his passing for sure. But
Put him in a dome.
That guy is a beast. It's like just have him run. Do some RPOs and.
Yeah.
Which they have enough weapons. It was interesting too because I was looking at I'm not like this huge Raiders fan, but I'm looking at the lineup and looking at the roster. The offensive line is like actually a legit offensive line. I think all they need is like a right tackle.
Not a huge Raiders fan who has had season tickets since their
I didn't go once last year.
Yeah. I don't.
So
fair enough.
No.
Yeah, I mean their offensive line is pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not terrible. Their I don't know, starting running backs got to be towards the worst in the league.
Yeah, no, they need to
Right.
they're bringing in a running back.
They have to.
And I imagine they'll bring in like another guy in the 5th and 6th who will back up that guy.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, the more I've been researched, like they're saying it's like minimum 7 running backs are going in. I mean, what's the last running back, in terms of depth,
Right.
like the last running back class that you can remember that's this good? I was trying to remember on the way, and
It
I'm like,
has to be the Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey. It has to be that class.
been a minute, yeah.
What was that, 17? Was that
Yeah.
the 17 draft class?
yeah.
Yeah, it's been.
So the good news is there's plenty of talent. I hope they do not spend money on a free agent running back. I hate when I see it, unless it's like elite talent. So quarterback, Sanders or veteran?
Veteran.
Veteran. I would go veteran too.
Yeah, definitely.
That's another thing about this offseason too. I can't remember how many quarterbacks are potentially available. Usually it's like 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And there's just like a boatload.
This year?
Yeah, this year. And free agency.
Yeah, I
Not
mean-
draft. Draft is not looking that great.
Yeah, Cousins and Rodgers have to be off their teams, but them, and then Fields, and who knows what's going on with Russell Wilson.
Wilson, I hope they don't get Wilson. Darnold's interesting. I wouldn't want to pay him, but I do think overall he's a good quarterback.
I mean, he would fit that system, though.
He would. And it sounds like they're not going to franchise him because they don't want to spend the money.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting excited about Raiders. I think at least offensively, I think it's probably going to take 2 years to get that defense going again. But
Yeah.
the GM there, he did a good job with the Bucks, and they got a lot of low draft pick guys, plug and play for Tampa Bay. Had a really good defense, won a Super Bowl with that GM. So I think it's going to be a little bit more interesting. The big thing for me was actually when they paid Chip Kelly $6 million to be on the screen. I'm like, oh, this is not rebuild. They're going to win now. And then you think Pete Carroll's 74 years old, right? He's not in rebuild mode either. He needs to win within the next 5 years, 3 years.
Right.
So they're going to compete. So I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, they could turn it around and be good next year for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a lot of positional holes, but like I don't know why you couldn't fill them. It seems like this could be a year they could do it.
Yeah. At least make playoffs. We'll see.
Maybe.
I mean,
tough division.
We got to see how the off season goes. And there's a lot to go.
That is a tough
That's a
division.
really good division now,
Yeah, it really is.
which is fun. I like it when the divisions are good.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure, no, Philly and like Washington last year,
Yep.
So cool. All right, number next, UNLV football. Dan Mullen.
Yep.
What do you think about the hire?
I mean, he's an interesting guy.
He's weird.
He's
But he's a very good coach.
He's different, right? But if you look at, I mean,
I like him now.
I
say weird in like a good way, by the way. Like I know when he talks, he's a little like, I don't know, eccentric is the best way to put him. I'm not sure, but he has an interesting personality. But man, that guy can recruit. Well, keep going.
No, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, isn't your guest supposed to be the one that talks on
Nah,
the show?
we're talking sports. Right.
So I think just kind of being in the SEC for as long as he was, and his track record of playing a certain competition, and I think he could be pretty good. I actually think he could be pretty good. Now, Odom was pretty good, and so where he's leaving it is a pretty solid team, but the bar is actually kind of high right now.
Yeah.
So for the first time, I guess in UNLV history, right? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that, but a coach comes into a team where the expectations are actually really high.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen a lot here.
No, it doesn't, because we've gotten a lot of UNLV football, and they've been really bad for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was super excited for the Barry Odom. I thought he was a great culture guy. He built really well. But Dan Mullen just kind of feels like, I'm like, oh man, when Barry, and you knew Barry was probably going to leave, like with all the success.
Yeah.
I know he went for the money, but for him to go from UNLV to Purdue, I was a little like,
That one was
that's going to be a tough place to win. I feel like you almost have a better chance at UNLV.
Yeah.
Even though it's not Power Conference, but West Lafayette, Indiana.
Should've
Got
stuck
a
around
lot of
there.
competition in Indiana right now with Notre Dame, Indiana already.
Yeah.
But Dan Mullen, so this offseason, he brought in 35 transfers, like 17 high schoolers, over 50 kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, the majority of those transfers, former SEC players.
Yep. And the thing that stood out to me too is he goes for the prototypes. If you look at those players he brought in, like it's just size, weight.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Runs
just,
4.4.
Yeah. Pure prototype players that he brought in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be fun to see how it develops, and I kind of actually like, because I don't know if you and I have talked a lot about this, but UNLV declined to go to the new Pac-12 or whatever the heck it is going to be. It's like Pac-7 right now, Pac-8. They declined to go to them. They decided to stay in the Mountain West, take like the $18 million and extra. I actually think it's like a good move, because they get that money, they can use that NIL, they can pay Dan Mullen, they can win, because to me it's like you're in the Mountain West, Pac, there's not like a huge difference. Where I think what their goal is, and I don't know if this is actually going to happen, is do whatever you got to do to get in the Big 12.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
Big 12. Yeah.
And I'd rather go for that and not make it than just go to Pac-12 and just be like one of the other teams at the Pac-12.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with these conferences, because some of them, Big 12 in particular, are getting so large. And so, yeah, I'm curious to see the future of these conferences.